combining agronomic, conservation, and analytics. The team of dedicated researchers, agronomists, technicians, analysts, and field specialists glean insights from hundreds of trials conducted on farms throughout Iowa. This unbiased, real-world data then goes to work to help farmers make the most of every acre planted to soybeans.
The Research Center for Farming Innovation is going to be unbiased, and that's what we need in agriculture. That way you get the best information, you can utilize it the way you need to utilize it, and you'll be better in production agriculture.
RCFI delivers innovative research, tools, and technical support to farmers considering big picture management decisions for short and long-term sustainability and profitability. Farmers actively participate in this holistic approach by implementing practices maximizing their overall operation 1 acre at a time. The result? Improved profitability, resiliency, and sustainability.
Our hope is that farmers will see the value. The more they know about our programs, the more they know about our teams, the more they know about the Research Center for Farming Innovation and ISA broadly, the more they'll see the opportunities to engage that are based on good programs, logical, regionally based. We work with them to understand their cropping systems, their soil types, their topography, their weather patterns, and then we design these programs with them to help them address issues and opportunities on their farm.
Several defining attributes distinguish the RCFI as a premier value proposition for soybean growers. The first is its ability to tailor objective data for the unique geographic and agronomic settings of each farm. RCFI also leverages soybean checkoff investments with non-checkoff resources in partnership with Iowa State University's Soybean Research Center. Collaborations with other commodity organizations, state and local agencies, and seed, crop protection, and precision ag companies accelerate profitability and sustainability opportunities for all soybean farmers.
The Iowa Soybean Research Center for Farming Innovation is unique because of the way we've compiled staff of experts in agronomy, in research and analytics, and in conservation, and bringing all those resources to advance projects and programs that address our mission across the state of Iowa.
But don't take our word for it. Experience RCFI's innovative and transformational research, tools, and technical assistance for yourself. Whether it's your first or 50th growing season, put the Iowa Soybean Association research team to work on your farm. There is a world of opportunity awaiting, so let's get at it.
For years, we've been doing really high quality, robust, science-based and data-driven work with farmers on their farms in one or another area of agronomics, conservation, or analytics. The Research Center for Farming Innovation is a formal way to really bring all of that together so that when we go to farmers across the state of Iowa, we can present them with more programmatic, more holistic opportunities for them to work with us and to benefit their entire operation, their entire production system.
All right. Kickstarting today's conversation is Roger Wolf, Director of the Research Center for Farming Innovation. Roger, take it away.
Well, good to be with you folks here today, and thank you, Katie, for that introduction. On the next slide, we will see a map illustrating the 2020 projects and what I say beyond. And as Ed Anderson says, we've been doing this work for quite some time. Over the last 20 years, ISA has invested in and actively conducted projects and programs with farmers as active participants. This work has generated locally relevant projects with data and information about how cropping systems perform and the impacts on natural resources. And all of this together enhances the long-term sustainability of our soybean farmers. In 2020, ISA consolidated our historical internal research programs into the Research Center for Farming Innovation. In 2021, center staff are developing 4 regional roadmaps across Iowa. These roadmaps are designed to be geographically explicit, inventorying the status of soybean cropping and related farming systems, and characterizing the unique geographical attributes and other supporting systems that help our farmers be productive and profitable. The thrust of these roadmaps is forward focus. We're going to be prioritizing opportunities, working actively to engage more farmers across more acres on continuous improvement, thereby helping our farmers with the mission of becoming more profitable, productive, and sustainable. Throughout the next year, we will be sharing roadmap information from our assessments and discussing challenges and opportunities that can be acted upon locally. We will be having meetings, forging new collaborations, and launching new strategic initiatives, and we look forward to working with all of you on that. Some of the values to Iowa farmers when you engage with the Research Center for Farming Innovation, and I would start with this first. Jeff Jorgensen said we're unbiased, and I would say that if we do have a bias, it is that we are farmer-driven, farmer-focused, and staff share the desire and passion for agriculture. We want to be your partner with you on this. The Research Center for Farming Innovation works to bring this cutting-edge science and data, informing farmers first and foremost about how cropping systems work and how to integrate those practices, new practices, into your operation. Equipping farmers with the ability to consider whether a practice fits into their operation. Will the practice be advantageous? Are the benefits of the practice observable? And what outcomes may be beneficial versus the cost of using them? And how will new practices impact other practices? It's really a systems approach. The center helps farmers address the long-term stewardship and drives continuous improvement, which is important for sustainability. We also we focus on the desire that a farmer has for return on investment. So that's where our perspective is to begin with. And we want to find solutions that perform and deliver value. And then all of this together helps tell the farmer story to a broader public about how agriculture is becoming more sustainable. And we work closely with the folks here at ISA in telling that story. And so really we want to be a leader helping agriculture as we work to modernize in the future. So with that, and I want to go back to the map. As you look at 2020, that map really shows, and I know it's probably hard to see all the detail, but really shows where we have active projects going on across the state. Theo Gunther will now speak with you about what we do at the Research Center and introduce the opportunities to engage with us. Thank you, Theo.
Thanks, Roger, for the introduction. I'm Theo Gunther. I'm the Senior Resource Development Coordinator here at Iowa Soybean Association's Research Center for Farming Innovation. And I'm going to go through a little bit about what we do here, just kind of as an overview. So what we do at the RCFI, there's 4 main areas that I want to highlight today. The first one is agronomy trials. This would be your traditional strip trial work. If people have participated with our programs in the past, they might be familiar with this. This is looking at different products and practices that can be used to improve the cropping system. The second is decision support tools. So part of collecting all that data that we do is interpreting it and providing a place to make decisions from it. So we have developed several decision support tools, and I'll highlight those as well. The third one is the water testing laboratory. So ISA has a water testing laboratory in our basement here at the office that we run thousands of samples through every year. And we use that to help support implementation of projects and also provide some long-term monitoring for some priority watersheds in the state. And the fourth is practice adoption. So we know that there is a opportunity on the landscape to implement new practices that are going to improve natural resources, improve profitability, that they're just slow. It's been slow to get those practices adopted. So we also have projects that are focused on targeted implementation and also trying to get those to happen on the landscape. Go to the next slide, please. The first one is agronomy trials. So these are replicated strips. We're doing these to be able to run statistical analyses on the treatments. We're comparing different products and methods. We run over 100 of these a year. We've run more in the past, and we continue to put trials out. We're going to talk in more detail about the current opportunities to do strip trials this year a little later in this presentation. And I want to highlight that all of the information that we put out from our projects is on the results section of the website. So if you go to the website iasoybeans.com, I believe it was just entered into the chat box, and you pull down the research menu, you're going to be able to find information about all the different projects that we've worked on. Next. So part of the data that I mentioned, the interpreting of that data is decision support tools. So I'm going to highlight a couple of them here, and we're also going to highlight some more on our next webinars. But one is the ISOFAST strip trial summary tool. And what this has taken is all of the replicated strip trials that we've conducted over the past 15 years that have a minimum number of sites. They have been summarized and compiled in one place. So it's easy to take a look at a specific product for soybeans or corn and pull it up and take a look at how all of the trials that have been performed by ISA cooperators have been done over the years. So that's a powerful tool, and it draws on thousands of replicated strip trials that have been done around the state of Iowa. It's a great starting point. The second is the cover crop economic simulator. This is a new decision support tool that's under development. It's now live on our website. And we know that cover crops is a growing practice on the landscape. We know that farmers have usually some limited experience with it if they haven't gone all the way into it yet. But we also know it costs money. And we want to be able to help quantify the specific costs of implementation, but then also evaluate some of the potential ways to recoup that investment and understand how that can be valued and quantified for any individual field using the numbers that farmers have available on their costs and their estimated value. So that's online. We encourage you to look at that. We're going to provide some more detail on that tool at our next webinar on Wednesday or on Thursday. Next. We also operate a water testing laboratory. So this is a unique resource that's available to Iowa farmers that is not available in many other states from a nonprofit farmer organization. And we look at the water testing that we've done around the state of Iowa and the map of 2021 plans. We have targeted watersheds that we're focused on, and this includes tile monitoring, stream monitoring, depending on the location. The reason for doing this, and the reason we continue to, is if you look at that image on the bottom left, that is a visualization of all of the tile samples or the tile sites that were sampled in the year 2016. And you can see that some stand out as higher testing than others. And what this resource allows us to do is to prioritize. We have places in the landscape that are consistently higher testing for nitrate levels. Then that's where we can focus the need for edge of field practices or to address potential issues in the cropping system management that are leading to high losses of nitrate. And this is information that's provided directly to the farmer. It's confidential. We would only provide anything publicly that was in a summary form. But we're using this to support partners through watershed projects and directly with farmers that are just interested in what their water is testing and how they can be part of improving that. And back to this map here. So this is the map that Roger talked about at the beginning. This is but we're focused on practice adoption. And if you look at all of the different types of projects that we've been involved with over this is just the past year of 2020, but it goes back another 15 years. That map looks even busier. We've got a lot of partners that we work with to help get practices on the ground, whether that's edge of field practices, whether that's in-field management, whether that's replicated strip trials, comparing products or methods in the field. We're always focused on how we can improve the cropping system and how we can increase adoption that improves profitability and reduces the impact on natural resources. So just to give an overview, today we're talking about participation opportunities. That's what the majority of the remainder of the presentation is going to be about. On Thursday, we're going to do a deeper dive into the results of several of the programs. So if you signed up today, you should be signed up again for the webinar on Thursday morning. And we're going to go into some more detail about the results of our work from 2020. And we also want you to complete the engagement form. So there should be a link that's put into the chat box here. This is the best way to let us know what you're interested in and to put your hand up, so to speak, in this virtual space. And we want to know what you're interested in doing, who you are. We know that not every single project or every single thing that we're doing, it might be of interest to you this year, and that's okay. We just want to know where your interest lies. So please complete the interest and engagement form. If you can pull that up and look at it while we're going through the current opportunities, or do it after the presentation's over. We want to hear from you, and this is the best way for us to hear from the different people that are interested in participating. All right, the next thing we're going to do is go straight into some of the opportunities for agronomy trials this year, and Anthony Martin is going to take over and tell you about some of those.
All right, thanks, Theo. Good morning, everyone. My name is Anthony Martin. I'm the Senior Regional Program Manager covering Southeast Iowa. Before I actually jump into the individual projects that we're looking for participants in, I just wanted to take a few minutes here to give a broad view of the Research Center for Farming Innovation. So just to highlight my three counterparts around the state, going clockwise there, Drew Clemenson is in Southwest Iowa, Scott Nelson is in Northwest Iowa, and then Teresa Middleton is in Northeast Iowa, and you'll be hearing from her a little bit later. But these would be the regional program managers who are going to be leading some of the charge, some of the projects within each of those four regions. And as Roger had kind of mentioned earlier, talking a little bit about the roadmaps that we've been working on. These are meant to guide our work in specifically identified project areas. And so I asked each of us to kind of put up 5 of the priority areas. In no particular order, you can see those in each of the 4 regions. These are there just to help guide our starting work here. Obviously, we have some areas that are going to be important throughout the entire state, like manure management and soil health. Also have some that are a little more regionally focused, like soybean gall midge over on the western side of the state. But this is just a starting point. These are ongoing plans and bound to change. Just wanted to give you kind of a highlight of where we were at the moment. And then on this next slide, so finally, just a quick overview of what you can expect when working with us. First, broadly for the program, something that you've already heard a couple times, but that we really take pride in is being an unbiased source of scientifically valid information. We're not trying to sell a product. We're working for you, the farmer. And we want to make sure that the data that we are giving back is a true look at how the product or practice is impacting, those 3 areas of profitability, productivity, and sustainability. Also, access to a large network of expertise within the program. You know, I showed the 4 program managers. You know, you might only be working with one of us or another staff member, but in reality, we have an excellent and skilled staff back here at the office that's providing knowledge and expertise for all the projects that we are working in. Access to the latest advances in technology. You know, we are wanting to push the envelope on the work we do. Want to be on the cutting edge of new and innovative practices and new products that can impact your bottom line. Advanced analytics and methods. You know, Theo kind of showed the developing decision support tools within the program. And then finally, and again, just a reminder that any data that we get in at the field level, the farmer level, is confidential and secure unless we have some sort of approval from you to share that information. At the individual trial level, we are collecting imagery, in-season scouting updates, end-of-year trial results, report and economic analysis, and then dependent on the trial, we are providing the product and in some instances reimbursement or a hassle payment for the completion of that project. So with all that being said, I'm going to jump into some of the projects that we're seeking participants in this year. So on this first slide in the red there are going to be some results or general findings highlighted. We will be going into additional details on these in the webinar on Thursday when we discuss more in-depth trial results. Also, just a reminder, those reports are going to be up on our website, and then we will be posting some additional videos online covering individual projects as we move forward. So to jump into the projects that we have open this year, first, somewhat broad, is cover crops and soybean. So the simplest project in this realm is going to be a project that we would generally recommend for new cover crop users. And it's just a simple cover versus no cover comparison. Last year, these types of trials resulted in a 1 bushel response. Also, looking at termination timing and then soybean planting timing, which would involve planting grain. Then also want to highlight here at the bottom, there's a map there that's got the entire state highlighted. And as we go through all of these, the regions that we're looking for projects or fields in, those regions are going to be highlighted. So for these, it's going to be a statewide look. Going to the next group would be the cover crop and corn. So again, similar to soybean, we are going to be looking at termination timing. Last year, these were just shy of a 1 bushel response. Another area in this realm is nitrogen management with the cover crop, specifically looking at source, timing, placement, and rate. These are going to be geared more towards those folks who have some experience with cover crops and are wanting to dial in their nitrogen management. And then also looking at tillage comparisons, looking at a combination, some sort of combination of strip till, no-till, and conventional till. We can see that there were some pretty large yield differences in those last year. And again, those will be discussed in more depth later on. And then, so again, with the soybean trials, these are going to be across the entire state. And these cover crop trials are really going to fall under that soil health priority that I had mentioned previously. Next project is covering manure management. These are actually something that we've been working with manure since the inception of the research program many years ago. but it's something, as we've identified priority areas around the state, manure management has come up as one of the important ones. So we're really needing to get some more data within this project area. Looking at overall nitrogen management with the use of manure in a commercial end source. The manure application timing, basing that around soil temperatures. And then hopefully there at the bottom, the variable rate manure sensors, that would be John Deere Harvest Lab sensors. We are hoping that we will have those available here this spring. Again, these are going to be for all regions of the state, specifically those that are livestock producers and maybe in an area where there are water quality concerns. Next project is Polyfor fertilizer. This is a multi-nutrient fertilizer from Anglo American, containing potassium, sulfur, calcium, and magnesium. Product is blended with potash, and that's compared to a potash only treatment strip. Last year, the project involved a spring application, fall application, and then that potash only strip. There were mixed results with those that we had last year. We lost a few to the derecho. So we are really wanting to test this again and see if we can get some better results this year. These trials are going to be more geared towards those that have sulfur concerns on their farm. And then for this year specifically, it would be the spring application versus the potash only. But there would be an option going into 2022 for the fall application versus that spring application. And with this project, again, the entire state, but the blended product would be delivered out to those interested in participating. And then finally, the last project that I'm going to talk about is a small grain and soybean relay cropping system versus sole crop. We did have these in 2020, had 5 set up around the state. A few notes or a few observations on these. From last year, the harvested rye crop averaged just shy of 35 bushel an acre. We also found that if you're wanting to implement this sort of a system, we should really be pushing that soybean to a later relative maturity in order to get the comparable yields to that sole crop, that soybean only crop. We are looking to implement these this year, and then we are also going to be doing these in 2022 as well. Have this open for all regions of the state, but I would say that these are going to be geared more towards those experienced cover croppers wanting to look into a more advanced system, seeing how that can work on your farm, and then looking at that rice seed production. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Teresa Middleton, who will continue discussing some of our other projects.
All right, thanks, Anthony. Good morning, everybody. As Anthony said, my name is Teresa Middleton, and I am the Regional Program Manager in Northeast Iowa. So to start off with, we have a few fungicide opportunities for you. The first is just kind of a general call for interest in fungicide versus no fungicide comparisons. On average, over all of our previous fungicide work, we've seen a 2.6 bushel advantage for fungicide. And in some years that can be as high as 25 bushels an acre advantage for fungicide. And we are currently unsure what our fungicide selection will be at the moment. But if you're just generally interested in fungicide, please let us know, and we will reach out once we know what opportunities we'll have available. For the fungicide trials, we will provide you the product, and we will also come out and scout during the season. This is another trial where we're looking for participants in all regions. And then next up, we have a white mold opportunity. So white mold continues to be a recurring issue for soybean fields, especially in the north. So this year, we're going to be comparing a Cobra herbicide, which has been shown to be effective against white mold at lower concentrations, we'll be comparing that to a combination of Cobra and Excalia fungicide, which is a new mode of action that's also been shown to be effective against white mold. And then we'll compare both of those treatments against an untreated control. So again, we'll provide product for this and we'll come scout. We're primarily looking for fields in the northern half of Iowa that have a history of white mold pressure. Next up, so we know that soybean planting date and choice of variety are two kind of low cost management practices that farmers can use to improve profitability. And we have some data from a small plot research in 2019 that suggests that full season beans can out yield earlier varieties. So we want to expand our data set now into more commercial operations and see if we see the same results. So the setup for this one is going to be a little bit more advanced. What we're going to need is you to plant two different varieties. So the earlier variety will just be your standard maturity that you usually plant for your area. And then the later variety is going to be about a half to 2/3 of maturity group later than what you usually use. And that'll be the later variety. And then each of those different maturities is going to get planted twice. So the first time will be in the typical corn planting window. So pretty much as soon as conditions are fit in the spring. And then the later planting date will be, 2 to 4 weeks later in the typical soybean planting window. So the combination of those two maturities and the two planting dates are going to give us 4 total treatments. And then if you're up for it, you can also add in a fungicide versus no fungicide comparison. So in the small plot research, we saw a 9 bushel advantage for planting later beans early and adding in fungicide compared to early beans late. So this is a kind of advanced setup, but it has the potential to provide some really high quality data and some good cost savings if you're able to see it through. So for this one, again, looking for cooperators in all regions, we will offer a $750 cooperator payments. And if you choose to add in the fungicide, we will supply the product for that as well. Next up, we have some pest management trials. So some of you have probably noticed we are seeing an increasing corn rootworm pressure, especially in the north. And there are concerns about preserving the efficacy of protective crop traits as a tool for mitigating this pest. So this project is about characterizing the economic and yield benefits of rotating corn on corn fields into soybeans. So this is not so much a strip trial, more of a block trial. But what we need is to have a field that's previously been in corn on corn for at least 2 years. And then we would need you to plant half of it to soybeans and half of it keep it in corn. And then what we're going to do is look at yield from 2020 and 2021. And we will also will characterize the pest pressure in the field throughout the season using sticky traps and root digs. And we'll kind of look at the economics there to really put some numbers on this practice. And in some previous research, it's been shown that even a 1% increase in rotation to soybeans can lower the number of fields that are impacted by corn rootworm by 3.7%. So there's some real potential here. This is another one where we're going to be offering a $750 cooperator payments. And the primary need for this is going to be in the corn rootworm hotspots in northern Iowa. And then another pest that's on our radar is gall midge. And since it's a relatively new pest, we're still working out how to best manage it. But there's some research out of the University of Nebraska that shows Pertenza seed treatment had some activity on gall midge. So we're going to be testing that out this year. And we are looking for cooperators that have fields that have a history of gall midge pressure to test this seed treatment in alternating areas around the border of the field. And we will provide a $250 hassle fee if you do just the Pertenza. There's also the option to add in a foliar insecticide called Besiege for an additional $250 hassle fee. And you can kind of see those different trial layouts on the slide. Again, this is primarily for fields that are impacted by gall midge. So we're looking for producers in the western half of the state. So then finally, I'd like to put out a call to anyone who has done some soil health testing on their field and would be willing to share their data with us. So our analytics team has developed an online soil health test portal that can be used to provide more in-depth analysis on soil health test results that you may have. Sometimes those results can be a little bit nebulous and it's hard to know what actions to take based on the results that you've gotten. So this is kind of our attempt at making it a little more clear what you should do with those results. So we're taking pretty much any kind of test results you may have, Haney test, Cornell, any type of soil respiration data, aggregate stability, active carbon, anything else you're willing to share. It will be uploaded anonymously. So it's basically, we're just going to use this data to kind of strengthen our data analytics power, but your name will not be attached to any data. The one thing that our analytics team does ask is that you provide your data in digital form, meaning in an Excel sheet rather than the PDF that most soil test companies give back. And if you give your soil health tester a call or send them an email, they should be able to provide you with that, hopefully. That just makes it easier for us to input the data. So we're looking for results from all over the state. And our goal with this is to help make soil health tests a little bit more actionable. So that's it for the product trials, or for all of the agronomy trials we're going to talk about today. Again, if you're interested in participating in these trials, please reach out to any of the field service program managers or fill out the trial interest form online and we will follow up with you. I do want to emphasize that this is not an exhaustive list of the trial opportunities. And if you have anything specific that you want to test, please do let us know and we'll be happy to explore that with you. So now I'm going to hand it off to Corey McKinney and he's going to tell you about a few more opportunities that we have available.
All righty, thank you, Teresa. And good morning, everyone. I appreciate you getting on here to hear out all the great opportunities that RCFI has to offer. So on top of all these great things that, Anthony, Scott, Drew, and Teresa provide on in-field practices, we do have some of those opportunities that, in my mind, go beyond that last crop row and what I call edge of field. So for starters here, I want to touch on this water monitoring program. Theo kind of gave us a high-level overview in the beginning of the slides, but I want to go into a little bit more detail of what are the opportunities here, and what are some of the values that we can provide to farmers through this program. So just overall, we kind of have three different types of monitoring that we do. Primarily tile monitoring. We also do stream monitoring as well as practice monitoring. So validating as well as seeing if that need is there to install some of those edge of field practices like saturated buffers, bioreactors, oxbows, and so on and so forth. If a producer signs up for the monitoring program, they will receive monthly and year-end reports. So those monthly are more of a kind of real time. They get them each month, kind of shows how many samples were taken, what those results look like. And then that year-end report is much more comprehensive. We start to get into some of those graphs that show, how relative is my site to others. Maybe some narrative on if you wanted to change possibly what those nitrate levels look out, what are some of those options that you can do to maybe change some of your water samples. To kind of give a breadth of the scope of our monitoring program, we have our lab downstairs. We do about 4,000 or 5,000 samples come through there a year. And those samples in 2020 made up of about 308 tile sites, 174 stream sites, and then 51 practice sites. So when you guys are going through and writing down on that engagement form about all these opportunities where you want to get involved with Anthony and Teresa, you can go ahead and check the water monitoring box on there. In appreciation for filling out that engagement form and attending with us this morning, we're going to give 2 free samples to producers and farmers, landowners out there that want to get kind of their toes wet in this process, see what value can be added to their operation, and that's just one way that we want to say thanks. So on the next slide here, I'm going to talk about, a few other opportunities. So some of these, the next couple slides, I'm going to talk about more structural edge of field opportunities. And one thing I want to, assure everyone is that we still follow those pillars that Anthony mentioned, that productivity, profitability, and sustainability. And we want to maintain as well as improve those. So all of these practices, when we put those on edge of field, it literally means edge of field. We don't want to take crop out of production. We want to maintain that productivity and profitability, as well as maintain whatever current drainage there may be and not have any impact on that whatsoever. So kind of digging into some of those practices is we have this bucket of conservation drainage, right? And some of those 3, big practices that we work with a lot is the saturated buffers, bioreactors, and then kind of the new one on the horizon is this drainage water management, something that we're working to kind of explore a little bit more in Iowa. The opportunities there are unique. And the opportunities on all these are somewhat limited due to funding. But most of the time throughout the state, you can get that cost share rate of about 75% through 100% cost share. A lot of that depends on location. So once again, when you're on that engagement form, you can check that edge of field consultation box. We will reach out to you, see where your farm's at, see what opportunities are present to see if we can adapt some of these practices on there and get that 75% or maybe even 100% where it doesn't cost you at all. So through our great water monitoring resource, we're able to validate some of these practices. One of the saturated buffers that we monitor here just north of the office, we're seeing about 80% reduction of tile nitrate coming into the buffer and then leaving the buffer. Through our bioreactors, which we monitor a variety and several of those statewide, we see roughly about 55% reduction on those as well. So then on to the next slide, I'm going to talk about another unique opportunity that we have here at RCFI, and it's this targeted habitat. So the way this is unique is that farmers, producers, landowners, they have to manage risk on multiple different fronts, including crop protection products. So using targeted habitat on that edge of field, not taking crop out of production, those fallow grounds, those fence rows, could be a great way to manage that risk that those crop protection products have on species and other species as well. So two of the two species that we've really focused on in Iowa is the Topeka shiner, which we do through oxbow restoration. This is restoration of old created oxbows, naturally created oxbows, not creation, as well as we do some targeted, very diverse pollinator habitat for the rusty patched bumblebee. Once again, these are half-acre, small sites that we're kind of just trying to incorporate habitat into people's operations while maintaining that productivity and profitability. Through a great partnership that we've had with the Iowa State University, we've done some research to kind of validate this habitat and make sure that these species are benefiting. So one great nugget here is that, from 2019 to 2020, the Topeka shiner population has increased at almost a tenfold on farmer implemented oxbow restoration. So these are oxbows that, through ISA and other great organizations have restored these onto the farm and still kept all of their production acres exactly the same, but we're seeing this great increase in endangered species population. Once again, some of these opportunities are kind of limited to funding wise and due to what that species range is. So check that edge of field consultation box on the engagement form, and we can definitely get in touch with you and see if and how some of these practices can be incorporated into your operations. So lastly here, I want to talk about our conservation agronomist network. So you heard from Anthony and Teresa today. We also have Scott and Drew and myself here at RCFI. That is a great resource localized here in Ankeny. But we wanted to expand that and get some of these boots on the ground farther out within the state. And that's where we created this conservation agronomist network. So all of these agronomists are located in your local co-ops. You can see that there's a few to be determined there. So we are growing this program as well. But we're trying to provide the best resource we can for farmers, landowners, producers throughout the state to make it easy as it possibly can to adapt some of this conservation onto their working operations and make it as easy and painless as possible. So on to the next slide here. I think we're going to have Theo kind of come back in and touch on a few more opportunities.
Thanks, Corey. So kind of getting to the end of the presentation here, we're starting to re-emphasize that we want your input, we want your ideas. So what we offer today as opportunities for this coming year is not set in stone, and it's not the only thing that we can do. So our projects are guided by input from farmers, and we continually are soliciting that and want that to be coming into us. So we welcome ideas for agronomy trials. We know that people have submitted trial work to us that they've done on their farms before. Continue to do that. Continue to reach out to those regional program managers and work with us on doing that. And if there's interested in practices to improve water quality like Corey went through, please reach out to him. Please mark that on your engagement form. And for the final time, remember to fill out that engagement form on our website and visit our website to look through some of our results. And we'll hear our final word from Kirk Leeds. And if you have any questions, please enter them into the Q&A box, and then we'll go into a Q&A after this short video from our CEO.
So I think it's that depth, the breadth of our information, I think is something we have to do a better job of. But I also think that many farmers don't really understand the impact and the power of having them actively participate in the program. Not just come to a webinar, not just come to a conference or read an article in the Iowa Soybean Review, but to become a research participant, to get in the game, if you will, and have our staff come alongside them and help them answer questions that they have on their farm, in their fields. What are the challenges they face? We have analytics tools, we have some great staff here, we have really impactful partners. I wish more farmers would come alongside and be a partner, be a participant, get in the game.
All right. Thank you to Kirk, and thank you again to our sponsor today, the Iowa Agriculture Water Alliance, for making this webinar possible. For everyone attending, now is the time to submit any questions you might have. That can be found at the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. We have had a few come in, and I'm going to turn it over to some of our agronomists here. First and foremost, we have a question: what do we need to do if a farmer is interested in getting water tested? So first, as Corey mentioned, a lot of this starts with that engagement form online. If you go to iasoybeans.com/opportunities, everything that we need to know about you is right there. And there's a checkbox that you can check water monitoring if you're interested in that. But Corey, I'll let you kind of answer that question on what that water monitoring process looks like for farmers.
Yeah, thank you, Katie. So the water monitoring program, we have different watersheds throughout the state that we do some more targeted water monitoring, as well as we have that opportunity I mentioned in appreciation for getting on here this morning. And if you check that engagement form, we can get you 2 samples throughout this summer, and you can kind of understand what the program looks like. If you're curious about more opportunities with water monitoring, we can definitely have that conversation and see where your farm fits into current projects. But the beauty of water monitoring is this is supposed to be a checks and balances for the farmer and his operation. So there is a data confidentiality aspect to this monitoring. An agreement is actually signed with the farmer and ISA. That information is to help support decisions that farmer makes on his farm. This is not public data. We're not sharing it. So it's truly made to help that farmer kind of understand what's going on and what things he could change. So in kind of a short answer, really just checking that engagement form and getting in contact with us, we can have that conversation and see where you fall and what opportunities are present. Thanks, Katie.
Awesome. Thank you, Corey. We do have some questions about some research trials. First, how many participants do we have on trial really on average? Anthony, I'll let you take that one away.
Yeah, so, and it's gonna kind of depend on the project, but generally, with our great analytics team, they say that 5 is the minimum that we need to have in order to get scientifically valid information. But a lot of our projects, we're shooting for, 8 to 10 participants per project. Well, that being said, we're never going to turn anyone away that wants to work with us. We will find a way to make that happen.
Thank you, Anthony. Teresa, this next one's for you. For the fungicide trials, do you determine which fungicide is used, or does the farmer get to choose?
So typically we'll have a couple of contracts with certain fungicide providers. So that'll give us the product that we can kind of distribute for free to participants. But if a farmer has a particular fungicide that they want to test, which we've had people do in the past, they're more than welcome to do that. They would just be supplying the product in that case.
Thank you, Teresa. And maybe Anthony, do you want to take a stab at this one? A farmer in Southwest Iowa wants to know if there's a cost for farmers to participate in a trial.
No, there's not going to be a cost associated with us to do the trial. The only cost would really be, time to implement, or depending on what that trial looks like. If it's a product that the individual farmer is wanting to test on their own, there would be that cost. But anything that we are offering, there would not be with products that we're giving.
Excellent. Thank you, Anthony. If anybody else has additional questions, you still have time to put them down there in that Q&A feature, and we'll get to them. Those were some valuable questions that we've gotten from some farmers. We just got another one in from Keith. Another great aspect of the water monitoring is that you can and should continue the monitoring for multiple years. You can see changes due to rotation and benefits of practices. Absolutely. Thank you, Keith. That's a great testimonial. And speaking of testimonials, we'll actually hear from a couple of farmers on Thursday at our second webinar. And if you're interested in hearing more from farmers and their experiences with RCFI, Thursday will be a great opportunity to do so. All right, so thank you everyone for those valuable questions. And remember, if at any time you want to reach out, contact your regional program manager or anyone at ISA, and we'll make sure you get to where you need to go. And head online to the iasoybeans.com/opportunities to fill out that engagement form. This is the first step in starting your journey to higher yields and innovative solutions for your growing seasons. And everyone, again, is welcome to join us Thursday morning for our second Innovation to Go webinar. We'll dive deeper into the results from our recent projects. And again, we'll hear from 2 farmers for their testimonials. They've taken full advantage of IAC's Research Center and have improved their bottom lines because of that. That being said, thank you everyone again for joining us. Thank you to the Iowa Ag Water Alliance for sponsoring us today. Have a wonderful rest of your day and stay in touch with ISA. Thanks, everybody.